Discover the power of faith with Path of Faith, your source for spiritual growth and enlightenment in a world filled with uncertainty and doubt.
Father, I ask for a direction because I have a hard time accepting the death of a niece. She was murdered with great cruelty. The reason for the murder was envy. He was murdered by a woman who is currently arrested and will even be judged. But I can't forgive, priest. What do I do? It is as if my soul lived crying. Losing someone is always very difficult, isn't it? Human process, no matter how much we know that people go away, it is always difficult. Even when we have a loved one at home who has been sick for a long time, when it is natural that we suffer. Losing is very painful, and losing tragically is even more painful, because it is a death that we interpret as outside the plumb, out of time. It is one thing to be charmed, suffering, victim of these diseases that are proper to life, death, normative process of an aged organism that has lost its health, and that will fade as everything that is created reality. Another thing is that you see a good person with life, health, to be brutally murdered by someone. So you have a process of loss to organize and still have a very painful situation that is having to carry within you. All the time is as if you are bringing in your heart a burden that is, my God, my niece could be here and not being. Because someone has removed it, is called hatred. There is no other name. The burden we take, that you have to organize mourning, and still have to organize mourning, and still have to organize. So you suffer doubly, because it's impressive, my people, like hatred. This inadequacy that exists, because hatred is an inadequacy, a kind of puts you out of your place. It's not natural for us to hate. It is not a natural human process for you to live within hatred. When you find out, you sleep hating, wake up hating, because that person has done you a harm. The process of forgiving here is absolutely necessary for the mourning to be organized. How does this happen? There is no magic recipe, right? But you already give indications that you are already on the right track. Believe in the possibility of forgiveness, which you say yourself. I need to forgive. Are you already saying seeking the support of faith with the priest of your parish? And now let's wait for time to send you to this reconciliation with life. It is very noble to know how to forgive. It is very noble for us to see someone who had a great ease. It's beautiful for us to see, but when you need to live is another story. So there is no judgment right now. What we need is to allow first, to have this conscience that it is not certain what you feel, because sometimes the person is in hatred, feeds that hatred all the time and cannot identify it as something that is wrong. Because look at that who lost, looks at the tragicity of the event, and is justified in the hatred that feels. And justified hatred finds even more roots to grow inside us. Because if you find someone who looks at what you are hating and speaks, but my God, you have no reason to hate. But in this case, it is natural for us to find a lot of people who give our hatred right. Oh, I would in your place hate too, because you took the life of your niece. Do we know all this? All these reasons? They fit in a reasoning? Logical. Someone withdrew who I loved. Someone brutally killed the person I love. And I find rational motives for this hatred. The others even give me reason for what I am hating. But there, my people. We need to make a conscience that hatred is also a kind of murder. Just as I can kill the other with my hatred, just as I can use my hatred as an instrument of death in the other's life. And we know this is true. When someone hates us, and white ends up living this hatred very closely, this hatred can kill us. Yes, he goes to us the joy. The person articulates evils to us who make our lives very difficult. Hate kills? Yes, it makes life difficult. Now we can also live a kind of slow suicide. I'm slowly killing myself with hatred that I feel. And I've seen a lot of people die of anger. The expression, wow, I almost died of hate today. I almost anger I died. This is true, my people. This is not a metaphor. No. If we do not manage the bad feeling, anger, aggressiveness, we weaken our health. We put within us a daily dose of poison. And that's why it's a very wise attitude, forgive. Because forgiveness is nothing less than stopping distilling hatred, the poison that kills you. It's like quitting smoking. The cigarette plays into the body. I don't know how many millions of toxins, toxic, highly carcinogenic substances, evil to human life. And the person, why are you addicted? What is addiction? Inability, addiction. When our brain is used to that chemical, we lose our ability to decide. So we look at the cigarette has this size. We can't say no to that cigarette because there is a chemical dependence on that blessed cigarette. A little thing that dominates me. Hate is the same thing. Hate also causes a chemical reaction within us with which we get used to it. And the result of all this is highly harmful to us. This is why forgiveness breaks the power of domination. In the same way as a person who stops smoking, he again assumes freedom in the cigarette and saying, "Two, won't smoke you, because I know you hurt me." Alcohol is the same thing. It's funny, people who work with drug addicts, with alcoholics, for example, because it is socialized addictions that cause this difficulty, which cause greater difficulty in recognizing her dependence. Because you drink socially, you use these expressions, you go to a party, you drink, you are with your friends, you drink if you have a joy, you want to celebrate that. You will drink if you have a sadness. You also went to drink because you're sad, then you have 1,000. People who work with addicted people say the great difficulty is that the addicts assume what they are, because it is the first step for liberation. You have the courage to say that you have lost your ability to decide. Hate does the same thing with us. How many times do you find veiled people watching the hatred you feel? Imagine, I have nothing. I don't feel anything for her anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. It's a lie. Deep down, you have a big challenge before you. First, look at your niece's death. Organize this event within you as something you can no longer change. Have a relationship with your now different niece. The love you feel for her. The life she can no longer live. It is that family who has lost a traffic, murdered in traffic, for example, and then will fight to establish campaigns to punish those who drunk. They are resurrection movements. I don't want your son to die the same way my son died. So I will fight for the one who drinks and who commits an accident because of drunkenness, that he is severely punished, that he is no longer unpunished, that this country is a shame, my people. There are many free killers walking, living normally, as if nothing had happened, because one day they were drunk, took their cars, and killed others that were there. Living correctly, seeking a child at school or coming home after a meeting, after a day at work, and the killer gets free. So there are a lot of people who raise their children like that. I will now seek a way to prevent other people from dying as my son died. So the reaction you need to have now is to resurrect your niece from your positive feelings, the love you have for her, and to do something that really makes the life she has lived. And at the same time, give a meaning to this tragic death, that it interrupted the life it could be living. And the hatred, my daughter, asking God to remove this weight from you, that you pray that your heart will be occupied again by love. Volunteer work helps a lot of people who lost people here at us. Voluntary work that puts you in contact with needy children, with old needy, so many elderly today in Brazil forgotten in nursing homes. A visit that we make to these people fill our hearts with meaning. What we can't do is that, often because of the tragedy we are living, we close inside our homes and we don't see the world anymore. We think our sadness is the worst of all and that there is nothing more to do but suffer. That's not fair. When we do this, we allow hatred to grow, because the teachings will make it difficult. It will prevent this healing of the heart that is so necessary. Hate is so harmful to us, and we can sometimes feed it so unconsciously. We look at this story with a lot of respect, and we who do not have these serious reasons who so often make our hearts a place of hurt, resentment, cultivation of small hatred. May God bless you a lot in your struggle, that you don't give up, see? His process, he is hurt, he is so very difficult. We know that it is very painful to lose someone, and it is even worse to lose someone like that. Tragically unfair. Right. How you lost your niece. May God take care of your heart, and may you soon be well overcoming the difficulties that this. Did you stop to think about it? That sometimes life is not working. It is because you don't even know exactly what you need. Sometimes we get so distressed, and we don't know why. It was missing to reach the key point. It was missing to discover the neural dial point there, where the conflict is actually starting. Patience, right? We have no patience even to find out what is distressing us. Science is an inner movement that makes us. I believe she has the power to make us realize life, the delicacies of time. Because without patience, we can risk not realizing what really deserves to be perceived. Dive into the heart of patience. Perceive the rarity of life. This is so beautiful in us when we are aware of realizing what is rare in life. Sometimes our hurried eyes do not lead us to the heart of this rarity. My people, sometimes we are so negligent in the perception of this that sometimes we waste a month, a year, 10, putting our commitment to a reality that was not even for that moment. And that's why it's so interesting to develop the ability to say no and to say yes. That this is a skill that only maturity brings us. That sometimes, because we are immature, we don't even know how to say no. We don't know how to look at the urgencies of time. So we live to please the other. No. Before you please the other, you need to realize what life is asking you. Because not always what you can do to please the other, is in line with what life is asking for you. Even if we grow up, we have to have the courage to cut many things. Many times we kill our lives or kill the opportunity to live well because we are not able to read the right reading of what time is asking us. Because it's anyway. Each day the time will ask us something. And is this attentive look that we are giving us this condition, this clarity of realizing what today screams by my name? What do you really call me today? What is the reality today that is unavoidable? It is interesting because sometimes our way of living deprives us even of this perception. We are very strange to us. It's not strange to the other, no. It's strange to ourselves. Strange to ourselves. Sacred scripture says, time to kill, time to make birth. It all depends on the keen perception we need to have to look at the present moment and find out what really deserves our commitment. How many times have I in my life worked in the wrong place? In the wrong question, and then there is no way to be happy. There is no way I can find a contentment knowing that my commitment was not where I should have committed myself. There is no possibility that I feel fulfilled. To feel good about my choices. Because what's going to do with which I feel good is to look at the context of my choices and be comfortable with what was chosen. There are times when life itself shows you the need to cry, to throw out their excesses, not to be afraid of sadness, to allow this sadness to fall within us in their riches, and to help us find the precious stone that only suffering could lead us to know. Then comes the laughter. Laughter is not born by chance. The smile is the result of the tear cried. And it's good, you know why? That as we are spending the parang knowing that it will be constructive. Little smiles are born throughout this process. When we talk about a final smile, it is just the metaphor of a well-done, well-lived process that sometimes we are without soul. The body needs soul. Yes, I need to support my life. I need to mean my subject. I need to put soul in all that I am, even in the house where I live. I always leave the house, and now I stayed 17 days away from home. And life has taught me that the house is not a cluster of walls. The house is a feeling that occurs to me. It is not just a material construction known, and how we realize that we don't love each other when we identify in our way of living and being behaviors that denounce that we no longer take care of in life. That we made wrong choices and we didn't make much effort to change. That we went to sleep with the waste every day, and that we made our hearts a wasteland where all the trash in the world was deposited. This small part, the small part of the commandment is the challenge. It is very easy for you to move the other's life. The easiest thing you have, sometimes when we go to a date, right? You keep listening to the preacher talking, my God. But Comadre Geraldo had to be here, people. But that's all Comadre Geraldo needed to hear, guys. It is not. Still hits, you see? Wow, you were there. Here comes Comadre Geraldo, Benedita, and such, right? No, I don't want to know what your neighbor needs, my word, no. No. And not even you who are at home saw, calling her Comadre for her to watch. No, I'm not a little worried about what you... Not. I don't want to know how much you pray. I don't want to know how much you are going to Mass. It doesn't care today. Love to God. We will speak at another time. The first night of this camp is neither for the first nor for the second question. It's the midfielder. This is what can go unnoticed. Because sometimes we think the commandment, it will be well fulfilled if we love God and the other. Yeah, I know. Because the quality of these two loves depends so much that you are cultivated. Oh no, Dad makes me quiet. I'm doing my charity here. Do the charity for you first. The first one in need of charity in this life is you. It's me. It's the moment when we look at ourselves. It is the moment when we gather. It is the moment when we take care of each other. It is the moment when we love each other. Because that is where God is acting in the ability he has to erect. To make him happen. And then, your neighbor will benefit from the human being who is gradually being worked on by the strength of the love that God manifests in you. And the whole family thanks you after you love yourself. And your friends will thank you because you love yourself. And your neighbors will thank you because you love yourself. And the sky will be partying because you love yourself. Because where there is a realized human being, God will be revealed. Look at a happy human being and you can say, he is among us through this creature here. How many times, my people? How many times have you experienced desolation in your heart? And you haven't been able to love anyone. It is amazing how much the unloving. Wow. This unloving that destroys us. How much that he disables us to look intelligently at God and people, isn't it? How much your contempt for yourself makes you a person 80. How much your contempt for yourself makes it unpalatable with the other. Go to live with a person who doesn't like to see what it is. Go to live with a person who despises himself all the time for you to see what it is like. Go to live. Then you talk, I'm already living, priest. So act. Do we need to convert to this? We need to find out of joy, the satisfaction that there is what we are, even with the defects we have. It's wonderful for us to look at us and think, my God, how many things today do I have? How many wonderful things today can happen in my life? And I don't have the right to neglect this? Is it God who looks at me and you today? Mira, because God aims. It's a lot of people, but he aims. Is my conversation with you? Are you the one I want? And you? Ready? Is it yourself? Do you know what I want to do in your life? May you, yes. So that then the other two forms of love are natural in you. Otherwise, you will have to make too much effort in. It is not necessary. When love hits us, everything is lighter. Do you work? From the fro. Do you get damage? He takes. but you take happy, because you will experience the fun of giving to another what you give yourself. If you are able to be merciful to you, will you be able to be merciful to another too? The demonic possession is every time we identify that person, he has so much spiritual breach for evil, that evil ends up taking the regency of his history, his body, in this case. She gets possessed. I never saw such a case. I've seen stories of people haunted by evil, visited by the forces of the evil one. But thank God I never had contact with someone living a possession. Father Giovanni of Rio de Janeiro, who is a great friend of mine, he works with this kind of follow-up, and I've seen him testimonies of situations anyway, where you realize where he identifies by his own ministry to be an exorcist priest, having people who are really, it's like they are totally taken by evil. Evil is already so embarrassed that you identify as a case of demonic possession. What I know, my people, is that we need to expel the devil from our life daily, from our history. How does the devil come into our life? He enters through our thinking. He enters through the petty feelings we feed. He enters through injustices we commit. Everything that is low. Because the devil likes what is low. And we were born high. We were born for the noble thing. There are diabolized songs. Yes, I will not allow a bad song to take care of my house. Anyone who lives there, who lives with me, knows that even these very violent movies, these news that explore all the time the violence, which show body bleeding, the family crying on the deceased being executed. For God's sake, in my house, I do not watch it and end the moment that we are watching, the moment we are having lunch. We are eating. Anything that will disturb my peace. This is not living alienated. I had put a filter, because this is so devilish. If at 7 in the morning I am already seeing a news that cheer comes out blood, I risk conditioning my heart to that violence, and that garbage being judged comes to live inside me. So we have to be very careful with the music we listen to, with the news that we decide to bring into us, with the television programming that we will allow it to be passed in our house, because it all has diabolic cells, is equal cancer. It's bad to hear, but it's true. Every day our body produces cancer cells. But the very soldiers of immunity, what do? They throw away, kill these cells, and do not allow them to develop. Then the big question is, if you are undergoing a process of low immunity, why is cancer very associated with a depressive process? Sometimes a very deep sadness, a very deep disappointment that rocked that person. Low immunity, sadness, low immunity of people. Bad news lowered our immunity. Bad music lowered our immunity. The evils. Oh. So when the body has low immunity, those cells can't. The good cells don't kill the carcinogens. What happens? The tumor grows. And this tumor is judging news for the body. It is called metastasis. He judges cancer cells by the body. You know, my people, I can't be dramatic, but I believe the same thing happens in the spiritual field. Let's say that cancer cells are diabolical cells, which come to us through a word, which come to us through a song, a behavior, which we will assimilate. And because we have low spiritual immunity, right? Because this, unfortunately, in modern life, we do not have much time for prayer. We do not have time for reflection. We are having low spiritual immunity. The devil grows inside us, and suddenly we are able to act so diabolical. Are we able to murder our brother because he is serving as a hindrance for us to achieve what we want? Envy, as envy is a devilish feeling, because sometimes, because of the envy and jealousy we feel of the other, we are capable to create a diabolical mask for the other. But it is in us, only we lack honesty to recognize. So if I allow small diabolical cells take over my heart, and I am in low spiritual immunity, why is God missing in my life? Or is what is missing that rises, right? Then I get devilishing. The possession is that. Even if we don't like in those movies we see, or vomit that avocado in the face of others, right? But sometimes we vomit worse, right? Vomit's horrible words, right? Vomit offenses. We judge that other broth of offenses on the other, right? God forbid. So we have to be careful like this. Now I do everything and nail all the time. The devil does not live in sincere hearts. Because the sincere heart, it is able to recognize daily what are the diabolical cells that are in us. Would it be so much better, my people, if we had this honesty every day? It is the blessed exam of conscience that my mother taught me when I was small. She made lying down, we closed our eyes without sitting on the bed. It's time for the consciousness exam, she spoke. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't even know what an exam was. Nor did I know what conscience was. Two weird words? I think if I asked my mother too, she didn't know. Anyway, she used it. Let's take the exam conscience. Then I sat on the bed, closed my eyes. Did you do the conscience exam? I spoke. I did it. Until one day someone taught me that the examination of conscience was to review all the actions of the day and find out what action was bad. And my mother is very wise in this regard. She never allowed when she saw something wrong we did. She corrected us on time. I remember, I was very small. My brother was a little bigger than me, older than me. Geraldo. One day, Geraldo appeared with a cart that was not his at home. And then my mother told him like this, Geraldo, where did you get this cart from? Then I said, oh, I thought, Geraldo, where did you find this cart? I found it there. Well, then you will take me there and show me where you found this cart. Then, halfway, he was tight. Then I said, no. Do you know what it is? It's just that, in fact, he was there. Inside that gate there. Then I took it to play a little, she said, because then you will knock on the door. This she with him, right? We come on. You will knock on the door. We'll call the owner of the house. We'll return and apologize because you did it. That it is not right for you to get what is from the other. Then my brother, dead with shame, did what my mother asked. But what I think is beautiful about my mother, do you know what it is? It is taking shame with him. It is holding on his hand at that moment. Did not leave him helpless. She held on his hand and said, come on, let's take over together. I didn't make the mistake, but I'm your mother, and I want you to be able to assume it. At that moment, my people, my mother may have cut a thief. Isn't that how thieves are born? When we allow us to steal the minimum of the other, one day, we may be able to steal everything. Then, in the seemingly innocent theft, there may be the crime cell. And if it is not polite at the right time, it will come to our lives. The offenses. They start little. The diabolical starts small in us. It is a petty feeling that you feed. It's a door lock that you don't break. It is a jealousy you keep and that you unfold in evil. It is a dishonesty that you are indifferent to her. Worse, when we get used to it, right? When we get used to defects. When we get used to being bad. And then the devil takes possession of us. When we get used to everything that is diabolical, which is in the world available, in the shelves, in the media, and we freely bring to our lives. But every day is the day to break it. We do not well condemned to bring to bed today the cancer cells that the devil has placed on us today. Take your conscience exam as my mother taught me. What were the feelings you fed today that do not make you happy? What were the feelings that today you brought to your heart that you know that, instead of bringing you life, and throw it out, just as we filled the lung with a new air and expelled what has already been used, and that was full of impurities. Life is like this. Create this spiritual immunity that comes to us by the personal encounters we make with the Lord. At this particular audience we do with Him. Although they are in the last moments of the day, before surrendering us to the pleasant world of unconsciousness that is sleep. They're in bed when you are already taken by sleep. You are able to cross the sign of the cross over your face, over your chest, and tell the Lord that you belong to it. If by chance today the devil had a chance with you, you would like tomorrow to be different. He is your Lord, and you do not want to share your heart with the enemy. You want your heart to be the whole of the Lord, and may God bless that purpose. May today, upon receiving this blessing, the Lord may cover you from courage to break all the power of death that may exist on you today. I wish you, in your struggles, always have the right and the possibility of removing your excesses, for you to have your fundamental truth before your eyes, without exaggeration, just you. And from that, you meet the path of life. Thank you for your affection, for your attention, and may God bless you a lot. May God pour over your heart upon your home, about your life, the disposition that characterized the heart of Our Lady. Pour upon us the blessing of the Almighty God, Father, Son, and Spirits.
Thank you for joining us on this enlightening journey at Path of Faith. Don't forget to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Give us a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring content like this.